Tonight, on your way home, you will pass 100 strangers and remember none of them. Your eyes will slide over faces the way they slide over lampposts. This is normal. This is how a city keeps working. But every now and then, out of all those forgettable faces, one of them looks back at you. And you look at them, and for half a second, something happens that has no name in any language, and yet almost everyone alive has felt it. Your eyes meet, and because that is a little too much, you both look away. That part is easy. That part is what we are built to do. Politeness takes over, and the moment should quietly close. And then it doesn't close. Because at the very same instant, without planning it, you both turn back. You catch each other doing the exact same thing. People have started calling this the double look. And the strange truth is that the second look is the one that matters. Here is the question I want to sit with you tonight. Why does the second glance carry so much more weight than the first? And why can a stranger you never spoke to, never touched, never even named, stay lodged in your memory for years? Before we go further, one honest note. The double look is not a scientific theory. It is a popular name for something real that people feel. But underneath that felt experience sit several things science understands very well. And once you see them, the moment stops feeling like magic and starts feeling like machinery. Beautiful machinery. Start with the first look, the accidental one. In any crowded public place, there is an unwritten rule we all obey. You are allowed to glance at a stranger, but only for a moment, and then you must release them. You look, you acknowledge, you let go. Sociologists have a lovely phrase for this. They call it civil inattention. It is the quiet agreement that lets thousands of strangers share a train carriage without it feeling like a threat. We grant each other privacy in public by carefully not staring. So the first glance costs you nothing. It breaks no rule. It could be curiosity, or the light, or nothing at all, which is exactly why it means so little. An accident cannot be a message. Anyone can look once. The second look is different. To turn back, you have to break the rule you both just obeyed. You have to spend something. You risk being seen wanting to see. And that risk is the whole point. Because a signal only carries meaning when it costs something to send. A glance that anyone could make by accident tells you nothing. A glance that took nerve, that pushed against your own politeness, can only mean one thing. It was chosen. That is why the double look lands the way it does. Not because the second glance is longer or warmer, but because it broke a rule to happen. You both paid the same small price at the same moment, and you both know it. That shared cost is the message. But this only works if we are astonishingly good at one particular thing. Reading exactly where another person is looking. And it turns out humans are freakishly, unusually good at it. Better than any other animal we know of. Look at your own eye in a mirror. Around the dark center sits a wide band of bright white. We call it the sclera. It seems ordinary, because everyone has it. But among the great apes, we are strange. In chimpanzees and gorillas, that white is usually dark, hard to read. And that bright frame does something powerful. It turns your eye into an arrow. The white background makes it easy for someone across a room to see precisely which way the dark part is pointing. Your eyes broadcast their aim, whether you want them to or not. There is a well-known idea about why. It is called the cooperative-eye hypothesis. The suggestion is that our eyes evolved this visible design because for a deeply social animal, being able to silently follow each other's gaze was worth more than hiding where we look. I want to be careful here because it matters. This is a hypothesis, a debated one, not settled fact. Some recent studies have questioned parts of it, arguing our eyes may be less unique than the story suggests. So hold it lightly. It is a strong idea, not a closed case. But the ability itself is not in doubt. Experiments have shown people read gaze direction faster and more accurately when the sclera is naturally white, even at a distance, even in poor light. Whatever the reason it evolved, you are wired to know when someone is looking at you. So now the double look makes more sense. You did not imagine that they turned back. You genuinely detected it, precisely in a fraction of a second, from across the street. Two ancient, finely tuned instruments found each other in a crowd. That is not nothing. That is your oldest sense working perfectly. Which raises the next question. If a single shared glance can feel like that, what would happen if you did the impossible thing? If two strangers simply held each other's eyes and did not look away at all? In 1989, three psychologists decided to find out. Their names were Kellerman, Lewis, and Laird, and they ran an experiment that sounds almost too simple to work. They took strangers, paired them up, and gave them one small instruction. For 2 minutes, look into each other's eyes. Not the hands, not the face, the eyes. And do not look away. 2 minutes does not sound long, until you try holding a stranger's gaze for even 10 seconds. It is a small eternity. To be sure, it was the mutual part that mattered. They tested other pairings too. Some people stared at their partner's hands. Some counted how many times their partner blinked. Only one group did the real thing. eyes on eyes, each one knowing the other was looking straight back. Then they asked everyone how they felt, and the group who had held that mutual gaze reported something the others did not: significantly higher feelings of affection. In a second study, with dozens more people, the mutual gazers reported a measurable rise in passionate love for a person they had met minutes earlier. Let that sit for a second. Not a date, not a conversation, not a single word exchanged. 2 minutes of looking, and strangers walked out feeling the early stirrings of love. The eyes alone did that. Now, I want to be truthful about what this study shows, because it is easy to oversell. It measured feelings that people reported straight afterwards, in a room, primed to notice them. It does not prove that staring at a stranger makes lasting love appear, and I want to kill one myth while we are here. You may have heard that some special love chemical floods your brain in these moments, a so-called love molecule. That idea has been debunked. There is no magic substance switched on by a glance. What is real is quieter and stranger, and it lives in memory. Which brings us to the heart of it. Because none of this yet explains the ache. It explains why the glance feels like something in the moment. It does not explain why a stranger you saw for 2 seconds, years ago, can still surface in your mind on a quiet evening. For that, we need a woman named Bluma Zeigarnik, and a story about waiters. In the 1920s, her mentor noticed something odd in a busy cafe. The waiters could remember long, complicated orders perfectly, right up until the bill was paid. But the instant the bill was settled, the order vanished from their minds. Complete it, and it was gone. Zeigarnik took that hunch into the lab and found the pattern held for almost everything. People remembered unfinished tasks far better than finished ones, in some tests about twice as well. We call it the Zeigarnik effect. The mind treats an unfinished thing as an open loop. It keeps a small light burning, a low hum of attention, holding the task available, refusing to let it go quiet until the loop is closed. Modern researchers add a fair caution. The effect is real but conditional. Not every unfinished thing haunts us equally. A loop stays loud mostly when the mind cannot decide whether to act, wait, or let go, when it truly cannot resolve the thing. And now look back at the double look with that in mind. A conversation is a completed task. You speak, you learn their name, maybe it goes nowhere, and the loop closes. The mind files it away and dims the light. Done is done, but the double look is a task that was started and never finished. Something clearly began. You both felt it, you both turned back, the signal was sent and received, and then the train doors closed, or the light changed, and it was severed mid-sentence. So the loop never closes. Your mind cannot mark it finished, because it never was. It cannot decide whether to act, because there is nothing left to act on. And so it does the only thing it knows how to do. It keeps the light on. For years, if it has to. That is the real reason a nameless stranger can haunt you. It is not weakness, and it is not obsession. It is an open loop your mind is faithfully keeping alive, waiting for an ending that never came, doing exactly what it evolved to do. And here is where it stops being private. Because this ache is so common, so widely shared, that people go to extraordinary lengths to close the loop. They post about it, publicly, to a stranger whose name they do not even know. For years, one of the busiest corners of the internet was a place called Missed Connections. It began almost by accident. The head of a classified site noticed his personal ads filling with the same kind of message, over and over. He described them, wonderfully, as the "you smiled at me on the subway platform" posts. Not "I met someone," not "we went on a date." Just "our eyes met and then you were gone." And I cannot stop thinking about it. He gave them their own section, and they came in their thousands. In a single month, that one site carried more than 100,000 missed connection posts. 100,000 people, each writing into the dark, each hoping one particular stranger might somehow read it and finish the sentence. Think about what that actually is. 100,000 loops, all left open by a glance. It is the Zeigarnik effect, made visible at the scale of a whole society. Proof that this small, silent, wordless moment is one of the most powerful things a human face can do to another. And almost none of those posts ever find their person. That is the quiet tragedy of it. The odds are terrible. The stranger is gone, back into the crowd, into the millions, and the chance of them ever seeing your message is close to zero. So why do people still write them, knowing it almost certainly will not work? I think because writing it is itself a way of honoring the loop, a way of saying out loud that it was real. That for a moment, across a crowded platform, something in you reached for something in someone else. And that is the turn I want to leave you with. We tend to feel a little foolish about these moments. We scold ourselves for it. Why am I still thinking about a stranger I saw for 2 seconds? What is wrong with me? Get over it. But nothing is wrong with you. Everything we have looked at tonight says the opposite. Your eyes did their ancient work perfectly. You read a signal that cost the other person something to send. Your memory kept faith with a moment that mattered. None of that is a malfunction. All of it is you, working exactly as you should. The ache of a missed moment is not a sign that you are foolish, or lonely, or holding on to something you should have dropped. It is a sign that the machinery still works, that you can still be reached, that a single stranger's glance can still land in you and stay. So tonight, when you walk home through all those forgettable faces, and one of them looks back and you both look away, notice what happens next. Notice whether you turn back. Notice whether they do. Because that second look, the one that breaks the rules, the one that costs something, the one your mind will keep alight long after the person is gone, is not foolishness. It is the oldest, quietest proof that you are still open to being found.